everyone. It's another AI Friday. You're watching Techstrong Gang. Hi, everyone. Alan Schimmel here on Techstrong Gang. Welcome to our Friday edition. We've got our usual kind of Friday crowd here. They've become the regulars on Friday. I feel like I'm Sam in Cheers, or maybe I'm Coach in Cheers. Mike could be Sam. He was a pitcher. But let me introduce you to our gang members. Our West Coast contingent on Friday is our marketing person extraordinaire, expert, radio host, and a bunch of other good stuff, our friend Lisa Martin. Hey, Lisa, you're looking very, very nice in that top there.
Well, thank you. I'm very bright today.
It's good. Pink and white is always a nice color. Moving on from Lisa, he's not in pink and white. Looks like he's got a little red. I thought you were in your Dubs warm-up suit or something out there. John Swartz. Hey, John, how are you?
I'm good. It's being kept busy by the Salesforce conference this week, but everything's good.
Very cool. Good for you. Okay, then moving from the West Coast to Austin. Same guy, different title.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
I'm now Chief Analyst at Visible Impact.
Guy Currier, Chief Analyst at Visible Impact. Hey, Guy, welcome.
Visible Impact, part of the Futurum Group. Thanks. I'm actually in New York City.
Are you?
Moment.
Oh,
yes,
you
I
lucky
am.
dog, you. Good for you.
Thank you.
You're not with
Thank you.
Vizard, with Mike, are you?
I don't know, Mike. Which office are you in?
I'm in the Harrison, New York office on the other side of the bridge from you, and we were just discussing our future locations.
Well, that's cool. Very cool.
I'm in Midtown Manhattan right now.
Good for you. Enjoy. Welcome, Guy. And then, of course, from Harrison, he is the Dean of Techstrong, our Chief Content Officer, Mike Vizard. Mike, did you always want to be a dean?
Dean, I don't know, because, that's a lot of responsibility for taking care of students, and students are notoriously problematic. So
yeah,
I think I'll skip the dean.
All right. I was thinking more like Dean Wormer. I had a husband, Dean Wormer.
But I am in the same room I was in yesterday, and I haven't moved since. So there you go.
There you are. All right, guys. Hey, it's Friday. We got a lot of AI in store for us here. Mike, why don't you kick us off?
We're going to take a minute here on this A block to assess where we are with AI. There's a story over on Digital CXO talking about how AI has permeated everybody's thought process, even though it seems like not that many folks are actually doing it just yet. And a lot of those things they are doing are experiments. And John has a story also up on techstrong.ai talking about how just about every job in the world now seems to have an AI component to it if you want to apply for it. So let's start with Guy, but what's your assessment of what's going on here? Where are we on this journey?
Well, the story at Digital CXO, could I get that right? Is based on a recent study by the St. Louis Fed of 10,000 U.S. workers. And it's interesting to me for you to say, Mike, that not a lot of people are using it, because I guess the headline number was like 23% of U.S. workers use AI on a weekly basis. 9% use it on a daily basis. Those numbers don't sound like a lot, but I'm here to tell you those numbers are astoundingly high. 23% of all U.S. workers. I think they had an age cutoff of like between 23 and 65 or something like that. But every kind of job imaginable, from farm worker up to corporate CEO, 23% of them are using AI at least weekly. That is astounding adoption, if you ask me. If you want to cut it down just to knowledge workers, I didn't have a chance to look at that. Maybe it's a higher number, 50% or more. But this is every U.S. worker. And equally interesting is that over half of the usage of AI is employee-driven, according to the study. I mean, this is a serious projectable, sort of unassailable piece of market research by one of the premier research institutions in the United States, the U.S., the St. Louis Federal Bank, and they're showing the latest version or edition of BYO whatever. We had BYOD. We sort of kind of had BYO Cloud, although it was never named that way. This is now BYO AI. Hey, I just coined that. BYO AI. Over half of its use is employee driven. That's all. And, everyone and sundry going and using ChatGPT for whatever, for research, to draft an email or what have you. I mean, this is in the space of 2 years. Now, there's one other element to this story having to do with productivity, but actually, I wanted to hear from John also because he has taken this sort of work style, lifestyle approach in some recent articles he's written about it, and I want to see what his take is on my sort of astonishment at how
I think you're spot on, Guy, and in fact, I think that number 23% it not only is pretty significant. I think it's going to get higher very soon. So, as part of the story that I did, there was a study done by the University of Maryland's Smith School of Business and a company called LinkUp, which is a data job tracking firm. And they have found that since the end of 2022, the AI job listings in the US are up 68%. When you compare that to the overall job listings or postings, those have declined 17%. So in a sense, that's where the jobs are. And in fact, there was yet another study that was done looking at 1,000 recent job seekers by something called AI Resume Builder. And they discovered that nearly half of the applicants now use ChatGPT to craft their resume and cover letters. And that the people who did do that, 82% were able to get some form of an interview. One cautionary thing is you couldn't over rely on using ChatGPT. You had to add a human element of some sort. Otherwise, it was very obvious that you hadn't written it. But I think just given the whole context of what's going on, it's very interesting to me. So we have this AI job growth that's occurring at the same time that a lot of tech companies are slashing their workforces, and yet they're making major investments in AI. It's this kind of whole kind of interesting dynamic that I find that as companies are cutting back, they're also looking to hire more people to fill the gap in the AI or some sort of knowledge, which in a sense, ironically, will probably displace even more jobs. So there's this kind of whole job churning cycle that's going on. But AI is definitely leading the pack, and I think we're really going to see significant change. And this will probably bleed into our next segment about what's going on with agentic AI. But I think it really is starting to take off. I was a little bit dubious about it, but now I'm starting to think there really is momentum coming from this area.
I'm going to say nonsense. So here's the thing. Employees are driving it, no doubt. 23%, no doubt. And I'm willing to wager that 95% of that 23% is using it to write a better memo. Well, let me wait to see how the GDP is going to really take off because people are writing a better memo. I don't disagree that AI is going to have a profound impact, but we're a long, long way from actually people using that in a meaningful way that's going to drive a return on investment. And you're already hearing CXOs standing around going, where is the ROI on this stuff?
Well, I have to mention that the St. Louis Fed did their homework using data from the study and pretty sophisticated analysis to come up with a figure for how many work hours are being saved each week, or not each week, sorry, it's independent of the time period. They're saying right now 1.4% of work hours are being saved. 1.4% of a 40-hour work week is what? It's 25 minutes or something like that. So that doesn't really sound like a lot, but those are 25 minutes that are being, let's take them at face value, which I do have a fair amount of, doubt about that number, much as I have confidence in the St. Louis Fed. But let's just take that at face value, and those 25 minutes are now being spent to do something else. This, as the article in Digital CXO pointed out, represents productivity growth of 1.1% or something like that when you do the math. That is a big boost in productivity. It doesn't sound like a lot, but you get that productivity boost, Mike. And I think the main doubt is that the methodology is really sound enough, especially when you're interviewing these folks and they're saying, "Oh, I say 4 hours a week," and you're just kind of like, "Okay, maybe not." I have been one of the ones saying over and over again that AI isn't really a productivity booster, at least not yet. It is a quality booster, reliability booster. But this is the sort of thing that people can look at now and start doing measurement with.
That'll be a great comfort to me on the 10 hours a week I'm now spending going back into the office and commuting each way. That it makes a huge difference right here, man. I got you.
I see that you wore your cynic's hat again.
Sounds
today.
to me like the dean is.
We're basically though in a transitionary period. It's starting to ramp up. I think it's not going to happen overnight, obviously, but I think we're definitely trending in this direction. And I've been skeptical about it, but I really do see some sort of progress going on. It's just not going to happen as quickly as we think.
So it sounds to me like the dean's putting them on double secret probation.
And should do. One of the claims is so I didn't want to. I am not going to trash this study or what the St. Louis Fed did. I'm going to read it. I think it's going to be very useful. But one of the claims in the article, and I'm not sure if it came out of the report or somewhere else, or an interpretation, but it's that CIOs who successfully formalize AI integration could, and that word "could's" doing a lot of business, could unlock $200 billion or more in annual productivity gains. And that's not walking around money. That's a fair
$1
amount
billion
of
here, $1
productivity.
billion there. Before you know it, you're talking real money. But
Yeah, and I look at that number and I'm just like, come on. So,
well, that's across the board. But hear me out. To your point, Mike, if people are using it to polish up or speed up writing memos, making a better cover letter, resume, what they're doing is they're using AI to try to make their mundane faster, easier, better. And that's nothing to shirk at. It's a worthy goal. But the real AI gains are when we use AI to really accelerate beyond the mundane writing a memo or these tasks, but what we really expect it to do, which is to go do things, right? Agentic AI, go take care of this, take care of that, write that, code this, deploy this, right? When it starts becoming a digital workforce, not just, I think out of the 23% who use it now, 80% of that 23% view it as a really nice parlor trick. A really nice, look at, it's magical. Look how great this thing is. Look, I'm talking about myself even. It amazes me what it comes up with and stuff. But I'm not really leveraging it as a digital workforce. And I think that's the switch that needs to flip.
Can I just interject something really quickly? Is that when I used to work at Dow Jones, one of my greatest frustrations was we did these formulaic stories around earnings, which I hated to do, and it took up a great amount. Oh, Jesus, it took up so much time, and I thought if AI came along and did that, could free me up to do stuff that I really wanted to do that I thought would add incredible value. So I actually think, and I can actually see how this would work in the future. But anyway, I'm just saying this from selfish purposes.
I'll tell you, to Alan's point, man, I think Satya Nadella has it right. He said, the only metric that's going to matter at the end of the day is whether or not these GDPs start moving up and we really are more productive. Otherwise, to Alan's point, it's a nifty little parlor trick. And yeah, it reduces my toil maybe. I am less cranky as a result, but it doesn't really mean squat to the business. It just means me as an employee means I get to go to lunch a little bit more and not have to rush back. That's where we are.
Wait a second. Can I take a quick poll of our panel today? Is Mike a little less cranky than he was before?
I think we're seeing a change in tide,
All right,
Alan.
all right, all right. Well, then look,
Spring training. It's
that's a
baseball.
worthy goal.
Oh,
It's a worthy
I
goal.
keep.
I
Go ahead, Lisa.
Oh, thanks, Guy. I'm a big fan of generative AI for sparking creativity. You know, one of the things I talked about last week on the radio was this over reliance on Gen AI from students. And teachers are getting really savvy to check them out. They're putting like a student is relying on ages between 17 and 25. And the reliant versus using it are completely different things to me. And it showed that students were copying and pasting like an essay prompt into like a chat GPT and having it write the entire thing and being reliant on it completely, not even proofreading it for hallucinations or putting that human element in. I think that guy that you mentioned, teachers are getting savvy because they are hiding words like a funny word like a banana that doesn't make any sense to the actual essay prompt in white text. When you copy and paste the prompt into a chatbot and that word appears, the teacher knows right away you cheated. But we're seeing also a lot of knowledge workers reliant on it. I think that the fine line there is reliance dependence versus using it as an inspiration tool. Something that the study showed me was that CIOs have to get really, they've got to balance this tightrope, as the article said, about preventing hallucinations, putting these guardrails in place, letting people be creative and more productive. But I also thought it was interesting that we're seeing, I guess this is not surprising that we're seeing Gen AI adoption different across industries, but I was impressed to see that 15% of leisure and hospitality knowledge workers are using it, transportation workers. It's not just the information services and the professional services folks. We're seeing that. I think what needs to be put in place is those guardrails saying this can be used to, I think, as an inspiration tool versus being overly dependent on it. That if you're writing it for a resume or a cover letter and you're not putting in any of your own sort of touch, I think you're going to get rejected regardless.
That's a terrific way. That's a terrific way to describe that quality side that I talk about as an inspiration tool.
I love that little comment about banana. I think we all need an AI safe word. Mine's going to be beer.
Mine's going to be strawberry, and my family knows what that means.
What?
Can I just point out
Where are we
again?
going here? Go ahead.
It's going to be really helpful for us, Mike, especially you. And this will cheer you up. To think of this, and the article alludes to this, but I've seen nowhere else except coming out of my own dang pie hole, which is to think of this adoption curve and adoption cycle of AI as the same way as the adoption of the personal PC back starting in the early 80s. It took 16 years before any productivity gains were seen from the use of personal PCs and devices. It's clear that this will be a lot shorter, but shorter, 4 years or something. So, Mike, that's what I have to say to your complaints about there not being productivity gains, which is not even what we should be using AI for anyway. So,
I'm a big believer in the long term, but the short term is a lot of hype and a lot
Where did we go off the rails here where we're talking about safe words and pie holes? That's what I
once I
want
said
to know.
strawberry.
All right, let's take a break. We're going to come back. We'll continue our AI discussion, but now we're going to talk about AI agents. You're watching Techstrong Gang.
Discover Techstrong Group, the epicenter of tech innovation. We're your go-to for reaching IT leaders and practitioners worldwide. Our secret? Impactful content that sparks awareness, engagement, and top-quality leads. With us, you'll access editorial websites, streaming videos, virtual events, custom content, analyst research, and more. Join our satisfied clients. Let's revolutionize your tech journey. Contact us today and tell your story to the world in the most powerful way with Techstrong Group.
All right, folks, we're back, and the gang's going to be talking about this whole Salesforce move to create a marketplace for agents, and it kind of continues from our last conversation because, well, this may be where the real action is. John, you were covering this for us over there on Techstrong AI. What's your take?
Well, Salesforce, which has a conference this week in San Francisco, has made a couple of announcements. The highlight to me was the Agentforce 2DX, which is basically the next version of their digital labor platform. So one of the things that Salesforce is going after, they refer to it as a $6 trillion digital labor market. So this new version of Agentforce basically would autonomously perform administrative tasks across enterprise systems with minimal human supervision. The reason why this is interesting to me is that this system is designed to embed AI agents that monitor data changes, anticipate needs across business processes, and then it acts. Previously, they were triggered, Agentforce agents were triggered from a chat interfaces and required specific directions from humans to take action. So this was interesting. Salesforce made the announcement the same week that Microsoft introduced a new sales agent aimed specifically at competing with Salesforce, and AWS announced a new group focused on agentic AI. Salesforce also announced this open marketplace for AI agents for enterprises called Agent Exchange, which lets developers and partners build and monetize AI components. They announced more than 200 initial partners, including Google Cloud, Workday, Box, DocuSign. So it's all part of this kind of momentum or movement into autonomously performing tasks through these agents. So we're seeing momentum. There are more announcements that are about to come. Cisco's made one on Thursday. There are some others that are under embargo that I can't really disclose, but in a sense, this kind of builds off what we were talking about in the previous segments. It will take a while, as Guy and I will acknowledge, and I think, Mike, you're right. This is going to take several years. But again, Salesforce is kind of pushing this idea, and they've got some partners lined up, and there's some actual real applications that were discussed as part of the announcement.
You know, good.
Well, let me tell you what I really liked about the agents in the marketplace, because I can envision a world that looks like this. I'm going to go to this marketplace. I'm going to describe a task that I would like to have done. And these agents and the people who build them are going to bid to fulfill my task. And so instead of me sitting around going, let me license this agent on an annual contract basis, I may do this on a usage-based model. And I'm only going to pay for the agent for as long as I needed to complete that particular task.
So is this the AI version of driving your pickup truck by Home Depot and picking up illegal immigrants to do work for you?
That is exactly what it is.
Wow. I thought the last block was, I thought the A block was ended tough. You're really bringing the heat again.
Yeah, no, I'm not. But you know what? I do think a workplace or a marketplace, look, it worked for the cloud. It worked for the phone, for the cell phone. Why wouldn't it work here? Right? It makes sense. It's a tried and true model. That being said, you know, I mentioned it yesterday on yesterday's gang. I did a customer or user experience feedback with an AI product that I'm playing with called Hoop, HOOP.ai. And I was talking to one of the co-founders. These are the people from Trello. And well, they're not, they helped start Trello. They're not at Trello anymore. And I asked them about, you know, it's great to make these tasks for me, but I'd like to have an agent that does these things. Are you going to have an agent? And they said, you know, why would they make an agent? Because their belief is we're all going to have so many agents that the last thing we want is another agent. So maybe what they want to have is, it's not quite an API, but maybe a way to plug into your existing agents to go do things. And I think that is something that the agent marketplace kind of model we've got to think about is how many agents, are they single-use agents? Are they disposable? Do I get a Mr. Smith like in The Matrix who does everything, right? what is the nature of these agents? Are they ephemeral? Are they permanent? Are they my digital butler? Right? That
You might have like a contract agent, right, to do a specific job, which is kind of like the disposable concept, right? Exactly.
I'm going to have a mini mic agent that will manage all those other agents. That's how
I like
Agents
that
of
idea.
no,
agents.
well, you're
Yeah.
going to need that an orchestrator agent, perhaps, right? Or do you have one super agent that has many different facets? Where does that? I mean, this could go all over the place. I mean, and I'm sure it will over the course of time. But at least initially, to me, it seems unwieldy. And in talking to these folks at Hoop, I mean, I'm trying to put myself in their shoes as a developer of this AI platform, AI empowered tool they're building. And are they making the right choice not building an agent?
You know, yeah, Alan, I think the question's already been answered. I mean, the great AI bungee jump that we've been experiencing, was built around generative AI, but turns out that was phase one. I thought multimodal was going to be phase two, but multimodal is it's just now like it's a marketing word now. It's real, but phase two of the great AI bungee jump um, is agentic AI. And what I mean by that is well, it's obvious what I mean. They're just jumping into it. So is it a mistake not to have your own marketplace or plug into other marketplaces? I mean, there's tons of marketplaces now. Salesforce, what they debuted Agentforce last year, right? It's relatively new, so they're developing it rapidly. But uh, Boomi, which is not a super well-known company, but one that is really right in the heart of where something like agentic AI agents in general can be really helpful. We're talking about enterprise workflow, roughly. Um, they have theirs. Cisco, as John mentioned, SAP with their recent announcements, Google Cloud, AWS. I mean, there's even the big system integrators like Capgemini, I think, is debuting their agentic AI marketplace. I mean, we didn't say agentic AI until like a year ago or something like that, and then now we've got these full blown marketplaces appearing. It's going to be adopted and used. Everybody's going to get on the train, just like they did with generative AI. And
Well,
continue to do.
23% anyway.
What?
There's
Yeah.
been a fear factor with AI for a while, right?
Yes,
I
the
mean,
FOMO.
the last few years, total FOMO. Every conference I went to, the message was really clear from whether it was a Michael Dell or a Jensen Huang in his cool leather jacket. If you're not already in the AI game, you're too late and you're going to be behind. So I think that fear factor is there, that FOMO, guys, you're calling it, is there for organizations to say, we've got to dip our toes in. And what Salesforce is doing with Agent Exchange and their go to market, they launched this with over 200 partners. We're talking Google Cloud, Workday, DocuSign, Box. So we're seeing the momentum really carry forward here on day one with these big names saying, this is what you need to be doing, company A, company B, company Z.
The one when you talk about FOMO, Salesforce, they were Exhibit A, right? They were considered the laggards. So in a sense, they've really been ratcheting it up. So anyway, in a sense, they were considered the ones on the outside looking in. Now they're kind of they're a little bit overcompensating. I'll put it that way. They always do. This is a very heavy duty marketing company, first and foremost. Yeah, exactly. Sorry.
To Lisa's point, this is the marketing battle of the decade. It's whoever controls the front end experience through that agent owns the hearts and minds, and 90% of what's on the back end is going to be, for lack of a better phrase, a headless agent that other agents are calling that no one's ever going to see or know. So ultimately, who owns that desktop or the smartphone or whatever that first agent in line is owns the game.
But yep. I should mention that the Futurum Group has put out a research report. And if you go to futurumgroup.com under research reports on maximizing ROI with agentic AI, why Agentforce is the fast path to enterprise value. So clearly Salesforce seems to be staking out a leadership position here. We discussed the SAP announcements around it. It'll be interesting. Look, here's, don't count out Microsoft.
Oh, Azure's got an agentic AI tool service.
No, but in terms of an
platform.
agentic marketplace.
Oh, yeah.
Or OpenAI
Really
or any
agree.
of those guys.
Oh, any of them. Yeah.
Mhm.
We'll see. Place your bets. Maybe that's what we should do, Mike. We should become like a bookkeeper for bets on the
You've
AI
talked about
market.
this before. Yeah.
Okay. Look, I'm just trying to be
Lay
creative
odds,
and innovative here to pay some of these tariffs.
All we got to do is, hook up with somebody in England where they have these services
Yeah,
anyway, and we just got to put an agent on the front end of it, and we're good to go.
There you go.
Ladbrokes. Yeah.
There you
I
go.
thought you meant kind of like Sunday Night Football or whatever. I mean, where all the panelists place their bet, and then you look later and see who was right and who was wrong.
We could
That would be
work on that if you
We
want.
could do that.
We could work on that.
Yeah.
But then we let other people bet on which analyst they think is right.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Mm-hmm. Guy, you're
Spoiler
not allowed to
alert,
get your
bet on
mom to
Alan.
bet on you, right? No family and friends. Anyway, let's take a break. We're going to come back here. We've got C Block, and believe it or not, I don't think we're going to talk about AI in C Block. I hope not anyway. You're watching Techstrong Gang.
SecurityBoulevard.com is the leading resource for news, analysis, and education on challenges facing the cybersecurity industry. SecurityBoulevard.com covers all aspects of cybersecurity, including data security, DevSecOps, cloud security, application security, network security, security threats, and more. SecurityBoulevard.com has the largest selection of security content, featuring breaking news, blog posts, podcasts, and more. Visit www.securityboulevard.com to learn more. SecurityBoulevard.com, home of Security Bloggers Network.
All right, folks, we're back with the next block, and we're talking about a case involving insider threat. In cybersecurity terms, that means somebody who was on the inside who hacked something to gain some advantage. And a lot of the time, we're so focused on preventing attacks from the outside that we forget that the inside's an issue. In this case, in New York, a couple of folks have been charged with hacking into the StubHub network to grab some tickets from Taylor Swift concerts and then reselling them at a much higher markup, which of course is a really annoying thing to all those Swiftie fans out there, which includes our own Lisa Martin. But what's your take on all of this? I think that this is the tip of an iceberg, but I could be wrong.
No, you're right, Mike. It is the tip of the iceberg. We're seeing this. This is a great example, and I think the reason that it's getting the big headlines nowadays is because the majority of money that they made was the Taylor Swift Eras tour, which grossed $2.7 billion. But what we saw is these two people, to your point, Mike, were insiders. They worked for an outsourcing company of StubHub called Sutherland Global Services out of Jamaica. What they did was they got access to an unauthorized part of StubHub where they store electronic information about ticket purchases. And they only got about 350 different purchases, but it accounted for about 1,000 tickets. And what they did was they redirected. Normally, when you buy a ticket up through a ticketing service like this, you get the email, you get a unique URL with the email to download your tickets, put them in your wallet. Well, they went in there and manipulated the email addresses, punted what accumulated to $635,000 worth of Taylor Swift tickets to accomplices who then resold them. And we're seeing issues like this, not just from StubHub, who said, yep, we've been hacked. They got in, we're working on this. Live Nation at Ticketmaster. But these people are prying on me. You can't even call it a cybercrime ring with two people. Two people did this in between June 2022 and July of 2023. So about a year, they were able to make $635,000. They did it with Adele, Ed Sheeran, US Open, but because the Taylor Swift tour is the highest grossing tour of all time, I think it's getting a lot of headlines. We're seeing it in the US and Canada and the UK, but it's showing a bigger problem that these ticket resellers are going to have. And that is the vulnerabilities that they have in their systems that they need to identify, and the fact that they've got folks who are vulnerable, like super fans who are vulnerable to scammers. So this is a growing problem that the Live Nations, the StubHubs, the Ticketmasters, and the like have got to fix.
So, look, as Bill Clinton would say, this is simple arithmetic. Simple arithmetic. When you've got tickets that are going for thousands of dollars, the temptation to make a buck like that, to make big bucks, $600,000 plus here, to make big bucks is too great, and it's going to corrupt people. You know, I was having a conversation with some friends of mine the other day. You know, there's this new Led Zeppelin movie out, The Making of Led Zeppelin or whatever it is. It's an IMAX. I haven't gone to see it yet, unfortunately, but it's on my list to go see. And I thought back, I was talking with my friends that I grew up with. We went to see Led Zeppelin, 1977 or 78, 77, I think it was, in Madison Square Garden. One of my friends still has the ticket stub because it wasn't electronic. We didn't have it in our phone. We didn't have phones, but we had tickets, and he still had the ticket stub. You know how much that ticket cost us? $35. You know how you got it? You had to send in an envelope with a check made out to whatever it was, Led Zeppelin tickets or whatever, for the amount. You're only allowed to get 3 or 4 tickets. Had to send in a real check with a postage page, self-addressed stamped envelope, right? And if they picked your envelope, they mailed you back your tickets in that self-addressed stamped envelope. It was a sucky system, but I got tickets to Led Zeppelin for $35. And you didn't.
How much do you think
this.
those would have cost now, right? If they were, if they were
Priceless.
Hey,
Right.
this is making me nostalgic for that sketchy guy I used to meet in a bar and buy World Series tickets off of,
Yeah.
I did that.
Maybe that's a safer transaction.
But aren't these guys from Jamaica his
Yes.
descendants in some way, right?
Yes.
Look,
Mr.
there
Rose
is
is from Jamaica.
where there's a market, where there's a will, there's a way. Right?
I mean, when we were meeting in New York, Alan, you went to a Knicks game, right? And
Yes.
we were talking about the ticket prices. You know what? That's why I don't go to as many sporting events as I used to. I used to go to dozens, or I used to go to 40 baseball games a year. And for the Warriors, I used to go 4 or 5 times a year. I can go once maybe a year because it's cost prohibitive.
But that's the problem with pro sports in general is
yes,
they've almost priced it out of the working man's, working man would take his family. Mike, when you were younger, they took you to Yankee Stadium, right?
Yeah,
Gave you a beer. You were 8 years old, drinking a couple beers and hot dogs.
Yeah,
That's why it's a safe word.
The day camp people took us.
Yeah, I mean,
this
I used to go with the day camp people too. You're right. But it was cheap. I mean, now, a dad wants to take his 2 kids and wife to a ball game. I don't care whether it's a football game. It's crazy. Basketball, hockey, even baseball, which used to be the cheapest. You're dropping a couple of $100 easily, if not $1,000.
Easily.
at least.
Yes.
This is turned into the Crank podcast because
Yeah, it is. We're a
now what
bunch
we're
of
doing,
Harry,
we're
go
not
play in
talking
front
about
of your
the
own
breach.
house.
Yeah, we're
But-
not talking about the breach. We're talking about back in the day.
But let me go back in the day to Mike's guy where he bought the shady guy with the World Series tickets. Didn't it always used to bother you? Where the hell did these guys get their tickets?
Mm-hmm.
How did they get those tickets? Who did they know? How did they get them? Well, in some ways, this is the path to the tickets a little clearer here, right? It's an electronic digital path that we could forensically see how the hell it worked and what happened. This
we
to
could,
me makes,
but will we, Alan? Because that's what's really interesting to me.
well, we
here.
know how this one went down.
Right.
Well, we know that a StubHub partner accessed a protected
Yeah.
StubHub database. We don't know how they accessed.
Oh, I'm
protected-
sure they do, and they haven't said it.
I'm sure they do.
No,
and they were
not the
probably given
Jamaican people. I mean, StubHub and whoever they hired, CrowdStrike, or whoever did their forensics. They
Yeah.
know. Look, the people stealing Taylor Swift tickets aren't sophisticated enough to not leave hand fingerprints, right? Digital fingerprints in what they're doing. They know how they got in here.
that took nearly 2 years to come to light.
Well, because, Guy, the average hack doesn't get discovered for anywhere from 9 to 13 months. That's across the board, not just Swifties.
Everyone
what's
update
But
your
Mike brings up a great
cybersecurity
point.
insurance.
Well,
Yeah.
you know,
My
you bring that up. I just interviewed the CEO of or one of the co-founders of Cowbell, which is one of the leading cyber insurance companies in the world. They're moving in not just to cyber insurance, but to cyber products now to make sure that they pay less claims, right? That you're actually using. Because cyber insurance has become the big stick. You want cyber insurance for these kinds of things, they're going to insist the same way homeowner insurance. Make sure you have a good roof and your windows don't leak and you have your safety equipment. Same thing with cyber insurance. I'm not giving you cyber insurance if you don't have a good policy and a resilience plan and blah, 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 all in place. And now here, I'll sell you the resilience plan. And that's become big business. But in the Taylor Swift case, let's not forget the poor schnook who paid the money for that ticket. And, you know, in law, there's this concept, Guy, you know, there's this law of specific performance, right? No amount of money is going to compensate me. My daughter's a Swiftie, and I promised her I'm taking her. And those tickets are gone. I can't get another ticket. And
That's what these folks are exploiting, sorry, Alan, is the emotional element of what ended up being this tour. And parents doing everything they could. I mean, there were videos from like when the tickets first went on sale of Swifties just sobbing because they couldn't get access to tickets. There were issues with Live Nation and Ticketmaster. And so people are preying on the emotional element of some of these artists who are really creating experiences. I went to the concert. It was an actual amazing experience, but that's what's happening is when you get the emotion involved and the fact that it's so easy for this two people to gain access to the StubHub system, it's a huge problem. But Mike brought up this in the very beginning of the block, and that is this is the tip of the iceberg. I think Live Nation said last year that they were investigating a data breach that displayed access to over 500 million Ticketmaster customers' data. So this is something that these organizations have got to get under control ASAP because you know what, millions of transactions occur on these sites every day for expensive items.
look, I think
Do they have
the
an
whole-
incentive to get them under control?
No, they don't, and that's
Well,
the problem. They're monopolies.
They do have an incentive because here's how it will play out. So let's say I am the dad with the kids who are Yankee fans, but I can't take them to go to a Yankee game. You know what those kids are going to wind up doing? They're going to go watch soccer or something else, or they're going to go to a different concert, or they're going to have a different
Yeah,
experience.
but Live
and they
Nation will
will-
sell those tickets too, or StubHub will
Yeah,
sell
well-
those tickets too. Let me tell the whole. You're out of order, Your Honor. The whole system is rotten. This whole thing that we have these, you know, the Ticketmaster, StubHub, SeatGeek, and all of the other ones. The whole system is rotten. It's people making money on the backs of the artists and the athletes, right? And I look, you could argue that athletes shouldn't make the money they make or that artists shouldn't make the money they make. But I'd rather if I'm going to go see them play or whatever, I'd rather my money go to them than go to these leeches and vultures who bring it on, including StubHub themselves. The fees they charge over and above what someone's selling their I'm a season ticket holder to the Dolphins. I'm not a Dolphins fan. I gave up selling my tickets because, you know, if I sell so first of all, they're crazy. I gave up the tickets, period. I'm a Steelers fan. But the tickets themselves are crazy expensive. You could hardly sell them for what you cost. And then when you put them in for basically what they cost, by the time StubHub puts their fees on, it's 1.5 times the cost.
Yeah, yeah.
It's crazy. The system's rotten.
It is. It's that. I mean, we thought we addressed that with the Biden, you know, the push to eliminate those fees, but
They haven't. What they do now is they do
won't.
include the fees. It used to be you'd search for tickets. You'd say, oh, these are only $250 each. That sounds good. And then you'd go in and those two $250 tickets are $700. Well, where's the math? Well, there's fees and taxes and delivery and blah, blah, blah. So now they show you the fees included in the price. But it's still a bad system. And so when you have an unjust law, right? Natural law theory here. Another law school thing for you, Guy. Natural law theory. If you've got an unjust law or an unjust system, people are going to hack it. People are going to do this.
So my crank contribution to this is way back in the day, we had political actors in a Congress willing to put consumer protections in place, and that's what they did with the credit card companies, such that the credit card companies are the ones liable for this kind of fraud. Now, I don't know how you can compensate someone for a missed once in a lifetime event, but there is no such protection anymore, and it can't be passed through any recent Congress, I'm aware of. So that is something that used to be better, and I don't know if we're ever going to get back to this kind of protection of the poor consumer. Yes, Alan.
No,
Back
are
to
you
you.
done? Go ahead.
Back to crank number 2.
No, Guy, thank you for telling us that. I'd like an email from you with the 5 things you did last week.
No
Oh,
problem.
boy.
All right. Hey, let's leave
One
it
of
on
them
that.
was to join Techstrong Gang, or should I say Techstrong
Right.
Cranks?
Techstrong
Hey,
Cranks.
Alan, a little spoiler alert. I went to see the Led Zeppelin documentary. They go on to be huge rock stars at the end.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
wow.
had a feeling.
Oh.
Well,
Spoiled it
look,
for us
How would you
all.
give away the
Yeah.
ending?
raise your hand if you saw them live.
Ah,
I'm
spoiler
probably the only
alert.
one here who actually
A buddy of mine saw their last show in North America, which was in Oakland.
really. Oh, that's cool.
Yes. So
Yeah, no, that was a concert. Yes. All right. On that note, whole lot of love, Stairway to Heaven, all that. Love Led Zeppelin. But we're going to call an end to the Techstrong Gang today. Have a great weekend, everyone. We have a full Techstrong TV, as usual, schedule behind us here, so stay tuned on that. If you're watching this not on our Techstrong TV broadcast, go check out techstrong.tv or our Techstrong TV YouTube channel. And you can watch this and past episodes of The Gang and about 8,000 other videos on there. So check that out. Thanks a lot, gang members. Have a great weekend, everyone. For now, this is Alan Schimmel for Techstrong. We're out.